tools and on the Public Transport Lab webinar series. So first of all, so this meeting is being recorded. Please close, mute your mics when you're not speaking to the speakers. To the audience, please post your questions in the Q&A tab or in the chat. My colleagues will pick it up, and we will discuss and we will ask them to the panelists during the Q&A session. So some information on the Public Transport Lab webinar series. So the aim is to contribute to the answer to these questions. What are the challenges for public transport? How should public transport evolve to meet these challenges, and what can be done at the EU level? Because at Polis, we believe that the success of the EU policy agenda lies on how we define public transport. And for that, we contribute from different angles. So through our work in research and dissemination in EU-funded projects, and also through different publications addressing transversal topics in public transport. So some history as well. So we hosted another Public Transport Lab webinar series after or addressing the challenges brought by the COVID and how public transport could, be resilient and overcome after the COVID pandemic. So that was in 2021. You can check it on our website. And now last year we launched the Public Transport webinar series number 2, addressing with the aim to give an answer to the questions previously mentioned. So we have already conducted 3 webinars already available on our website, the recordings and slides. And today we, as mentioned, we will talk about the SUM project. And in March, we will discuss another important topic of public transport for young and older people. So that's what's coming. For today, the agenda. So we first have the overview of the SUM project by our project coordinator Julia Petrarulo. We have then the Athens-Penteli Living Lab, focusing on infrastructure redesign, so integration of new and shared mobility services and public transport from this perspective. We have the Larnaca Living Lab in Cyprus, focusing on ticketing integration and price nudging. And finally, we have the Krakow Living Lab, focusing on integration of new and shared mobility services and public transport in peripheral and suburban areas. We continue with the Q&A and with the conclusion. So without further ado, I'll give the floor to our project coordinator, Julia, to talk about the SUM project.
Thank you very much, Daniel, and welcome to all of you. So SUM is Seamless Shared Urban Mobility. It's a EU project that has been funded from the 1st of June 2023 to the 31st of May 2026. What is its origin? So basically, it derives from the observation that more than 70% out of the total kilometers traveled annually by the average person are in a private car. This is from a Dutch survey. And the main barriers for shifting to new share modes, they include the inability to combine these modes with public transport, the costs related to this mode, and the insecurity about their availability. So the objectives of SUM are to contribute to the mobility transformation in 15 European cities by 2026 and 30 by 2030 by facilitating this integration between new share mobility modes and public transport. And this, of course, with the aim to reduce car dependency, greenhouse gases emissions, and promote eco-friendly transport. To do that, some partners will address barriers to NSM adoption via technological co-creation and policy tools that will contribute to optimize door-to-door travel times, to bridge service gaps during peak times, and to improve connectivity, especially in remote areas. Modes are, of course, have many features. They need to be innovative, intermodal, affordable, reliable, and some partners really do their best to introduce these new solutions in 9 living labs. So basically 9 European cities, which will test these solutions and assess their effectiveness and the social acceptance. And of course, all these objectives align with the EU sustainability goals. So facts, as said, so it's a 3-year project. The Answer and Horizon Europe call accelerating the deployment of new and shared mobility services for the next decade. It's a very big consortium of 30 partners from 13 countries, both within and outside the EU. And the 9 living labs I just mentioned are Munich, Geneva, Jerusalem, Athens, well, Penteli, an area of Athens, Rotterdam, Krakow, Fredrikstad, Larnaca, and Coimbra. So you can see it ranges from smaller to bigger cities, seaside, mountains. It really, the living labs are really varied in conditions and of all types. So here you can see the logos of all the partners in the consortium, and here also you have the specific objectives. So basically to improve the competitiveness of NSM compared to private cars, to evaluate the increase in their use during the project, to ensure their affordability, also to improve the infrastructures that allow for NSM uptake, provide policy recommendation and guidelines at the end of the projects, and pricing and integration tools are also very important. Next slide. Thank you. So we are basically at mid-term. So what has been achieved so far? So real-world data and community insights have been collected in all living labs, which are testing new solutions to assess their impact. Partners are working on technological innovations such as prediction tools for the availability of share modes, on-demand share mobility management tools for scheduling and ticketing integrations of course, new share modes and public transport, co-creation activities both for the creation of new mobility hubs and the adaptation of the street space to accommodate new share modes, and then pricing and nudging tools to reduce the cost of NSM. And of course, partners also collaborated to face foreseen and unforeseen risks. Next slide. As said, so basically these tailored solutions have been implemented in all the cities to make evidence-based decisions, to optimize system, to also another important aspect is the inclusivity. There has been a lot of engagement of residents, workers, families, and even tourists, because some of the cities are very touristical spots. And the first guidelines are under development. Next slide, please. This is a table. I mean, I don't want you to to look into it. It's very small, but basically it shows that the tools developed under the technical work packages of the project are being used and tested in all the 9 living labs. And on top of it, each living lab is also introducing push and pull interventions to really encourage citizens and the population in general to adopt the new share modes. Next slide, please. Yes. So of course, the needs of each living lab have been identified and defined with KPIs and metrics. Also, naturally, it has been measured, the share mode usage before the implementation of the solution. And also our Greek partners worked on a standardized impact evaluation framework to be able to really track which solution worked and how did it impact the usage and the model shift. Also, partners are working on the open data platform, which is one of the main outcomes of the project, which will provide cities with access to insights and best practices from each living lab. And it will be continuously updated with results. And comprehensive frameworks, model demos are being prototyped and tested across living labs, talking about technological tools. Okay, next slide. As concern engagement and co-creation activities, surveys to really track the customer satisfaction and to assess solutions have been distributed in all living labs. Workshops are going on to co-create, as said, adapted street space and mobility hubs. And all these stakeholder engagement at every level, also as concern public authorities and companies and really individuals, have been resulting in, for instance, new public transport lines and parkings dedicated to new share modes. There has been also a lot going on as concern dissemination of the results. There has been so far 6 expert sessions where living labs could share, like today, the knowledge and the lessons learned in their context. Also, 6 observer cities that you can see: Tel Aviv, Vitoria Gasteiz, Istanbul, Lille, Heraklion, and Zagreb have been involved in the work of the project and are really attending meetings to learn and transfer what's been tested in their own context. And other activities such as stakeholder mapping, best practice analysis, the integration with Civitas, and other types of dissemination activities have been going on and will continue and even increase, let's say, wideness until the end of the project. Next slide. Again, as concerned the expected impacts of the project, basically we can say it's on 3 fronts. Some will contribute to the political and societal context of the cities where it is implemented, with evidence-based guidelines for intermodal connectivity and shared mobility promotion. The tools, for instance, for unified ticketing and real-time service management are scalable. So the aim is really to then adapt them and transfer them to other contexts. And the co-creative approaches are also very interesting and could be also adopted elsewhere. Some also provide support for decision makers with data-driven insights for policies and holistic frameworks that balance economic viability with user needs and environmental goals. And also there are many innovations that will also serve society in general, namely the open data platform and the collaborations with similar networks like Civitas to advance sustainable mobility. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julia, for this project overview. So now we give the floor to Stefanos Siktinos from the Athens-Penteli Living Lab. Stefanos, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me well or not?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Daniel, and thanks, Julia, for this wonderful introduction of our project. I'm Stefanos Siktinos, and my focus on this presentation would be how we integrated through infrastructure redesign, how we integrated new shared mobility modes with public transport, which is a very crucial aspect. But first of all, let's see our case study, our living lab. We are here in Penteli, Athens. Of course, it's not the central area of the city, in which you might know it's something different. It's urban with rural characteristics suburb of Athens in the northern part. And of course, we have to underline that is really car-centric. It's something different from the central Athens that is more or less sustainable oriented. But here we have many problems regarding sustainable modes. And of course, new shared mobility modes are somehow unknown to the community. So we have to do many measures, and through some, we think we are going to do that. And here we can see our 5 key policy measures, and we're going to focus on 3 of them. We're going to focus on the mobility hubs, on the redistribution of the road space that is the key for integrating the public transport, which is the final one, with the neighborhoods. So these are our key policy interventions that we're going to do, and we aim to increase sustainable mobility and, of course, to make a seamless system that is now really absent. So this is our goal, and let's go and see one by one the main measures. First of all, about public transport. Okay, of course, in Athens we have wide system, but here we are talking about Penteli, which is a very interesting case. We do not have a really well-connected system and integrated the local one to the metropolitan one. So we have to change our mindset. Today, in terms of infrastructure design, we think that public transport stops, they're out of public space. There's something different, something, let's say, that is not structural part of the system. But we have to change our mindset really radically and to see that public transport stops should be a part of public space. They should be connected. And that is one of our main objectives that we want to do in our living lab. So these new approaches try to reach the public transportation with sustainable modes. First of all, we have to note that during summer, and thankfully during summer, we're going to reintroduce our local public transport lines. We are going to propose 3 local lines that you can see here in the map. And of course, we try to do some more measures of rescheduling and integrating the local and metropolitan one. But the most important thing is that we really focused on how we integrate these stops as spaces in the wider area of our municipality. So here we have the first step. This is the first step. It's another policy measure, but it's the first step that we have to undertake in order to gradually integrate the infrastructure redesign in our living lab. So we are going to establish very soon the first mobility hub in Penteli. There's no other one. It's something really unique for the area, and we are really curious for its progress and if it's going to be successful. And what is really a mobility hub? It's like a place to connect them all, a place that you can take the bus, you can leave your bike sharing system, your bicycle there, either an individual, a personal one, or something that is shared. Because in Penteli, through the SAM project, we also initiated an e-bike sharing system. So here in this very central mobility hub, we can see its location in the small map. We are going to implement this kind of integrated measures. Then afterwards, or in parallel, we're going to see the second measure that you have to undertake in order to achieve successful integration of public transport stops and the new shared mobility modes. What is really missing, besides the mobility hub, is the cycling corridors, or let's say shared spaces or cycle streets. Towards that end, we are going to implement a complete cycle network. And here in the red box with these lines, we can see that during summer, we are going to implement our first small network of cycle streets. You can see also the second map in the right, where is the local public transport lines, and see how they coincide. So what we really try to do is to bring them together. You can start from your neighborhood and then reach through cycling and e-bike share or your personal bike or e-scooter. You can reach through that corridors, you can reach the stations, and then make this trip multimodal and seamless. So this is the overall network, and then we can see this pilot network of cycle streets. Also, cycle street is something unique for Penteli, because we're very, very car-centric. Our roads do not even have sidewalks, for example. So making streets, mixing different users, but with one very, very strict requirement, 30 kilometers per hour maximum speed. This is very pivotal for our cause. So this is going to be the way that we are going to connect the neighborhoods and each block with the public transport stops. Next, we can see what we're going to achieve. Accessibility is a very, very interesting and also a very revealing factor if you want to assess your measures and your interventions. So we can see here today, the numbers are low, the accessibility, but what accessibility? The accessibility by bicycle to non-residential uses, which is very important if you want to promote bicycle. It's not only about leisure, it's about everyday use and daily life activities. And here we can see a midterm, really, really impressive difference if we implement the cycle street network of 5 kilometers. And here at the right, we can see the whole picture, the whole redesign and rethink of our network, and when we really implement the cycle network and corridors. And no, it's not only about geography, it's also about what we do in street retrofitting. What we mean by that is like we take space from one mode and we give it to another, because space has limits. We do not have streets with 150 meters wide width. No, the streets, especially in Athens, are very narrow. And here we can see how, with measures of redesign, urban design, and also street design, we are going to implement cycle tracks. It's an exclusive corridor for cycling. Also widen the sidewalk, and all these measures, all these kind of things, not only are important for road safety, but they are also going to be very supportive when you want to do multimodal trips. So this is the core of our measures. And what is next? Because, okay, when you want to redesign your space, it's not something that can be done in one day, or it's not something that can be done for 1 year and that's all. It's something continuous. And through this is a start for Penteli. This is the dawn of the making, another city, another public space. And here we want to continue that. So the first and foremost, we have to reintroduce the public transport with the lines that you saw. And also here we are really doing right now the transformation of streets, and the cycle streets, and also the retrofitting of street space with architectural design. And it's going to be completed by summer, and that would be very, very, very supportive and very efficient towards really making seamless mobility in Penteli a very car-centric today suburb, really a reality. And of course, it's not only about physical measures. Okay, our focus was on that, but also physical measures should have a point of reference. We have to make, and we want to make in Penteli, like a web map platform that you can see these routes. So you can take them, you can use them. So we really do believe that physical infrastructure also needs digital infrastructure to complement our cause. And final and very, very important, when you change space, when you change the built environment, you think and you expect to change also the behavior, but it's not something deterministic. Therefore, we want and we really aspire through some co-creation events and other things of campaign awareness to really engage people into that kind of planning. And then that would be a complete set of physical redesign and also of a travel behavior change. That's all from our side. I try to be concise, and of course, I'm waiting for your question, and I would be happy to answer.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Stefanos, for your presentation. Very comprehensive approach from the Athens-Penteli Living Lab. So now we jump into the Larnaca Living Lab. So we have Andreas Demetriades with us. Andreas, the floor is yours.
Hi, hello. So I am Sergio. I am using the Andreas registration. Sorry, it's a misunderstanding. First of all, thank you to provide us the opportunity to explain the situation of the Larnaca project. It's a pleasure for us to share the ideas. It's a challenge, as Stefano said, compress everything in 15 minutes, but we will do our best. So, Daniel, if you can move to the next slide, the next one. Next. Okay, so the idea is just to provide some figures, some ideas about how is the context where we was working. As Julia said, that is not the same a touristic area or a mountain or a residential or a urban. Or we are talking about a city with 50,000 people really living in the nearest center of the city, but in the residential area that is around, we are talking about 150 people continuously living, so not taking in consideration non-permanent resident, tourists, and all of that. So we are talking about a medium-sized city. This city located the main airport of the country. They have a marina, a commercial and cargo port. It's industrial as well, the city, and have a lot of service. It's the typical European medium-sized city. As happened in the Penteli project, now we are talking a place with a good implementation of bike lanes. So the choice to use a bike to move from one point to other is possible. And in fact, Nextbike is working there for more than 10 years with a huge implementation with more than 200 racks for put the bikes. So not bikes, bike could be more than 1,000. So the choice to have a bike and rent it and move it is quite easy. And the bus operator, Larnaca Public Transport, Andreas working that company, have more than 200 buses. Some of them are electric. So the choice to make something is interesting. If we can move to the next slide. Thank you. So what challenge we assume in this project? So a part of the beautiful word that we put in the official document, the idea that we travel across is to have a greenest transportation for the citizens and for the tourists. But this empty and big word is nothing if you don't go down to how you do it. No? So with this ecosystem, with a bike lane, with a good or a massive bus operator, a transport card, is to implement a kind of mobility as a service where you can create synergies between the different transportation without impact in the different operators that they are already working, because of course they don't want to have a competitor inside of a potential partner. No, so balance that topic. To implement mobility as a service, the standard step, we identify the need of the upgrade. So we have the resource and we can do it. We upgrade the mobile app, but we have extremely good support from all the ecosystem, not only the operators, not only the authorities, the media. Everybody accept the project as a good project for the country and for the city. So that was great. That when we deep dive on this beautiful idea of implement mobility as a service, we think in how to do it, because the details is where you have the problems. No, so first of all, should be complete, not the typical one that you can book the bike, but when you go to the bike, you have to install another app to unlock it. No, it should be as complete as possible, as easy as possible. So cannot be complex in order to put as much people as possible inside of the project as a end user, not as an operator. So it should be attractive for the customer. So it should be customer oriented, not transport efficiency. No, customer oriented. What is the difference if you think on that or not? How you can understand that if you do the things that you want in a way or other, how you have the difference. So Daniel, if we go to the next slide. So let me this joke. No, the previous one. No, is that one. Okay. So with the same requirement, you need a good actor. You need a brilliant person, someone that is a good person with others. You have different results. So how you do it, what is the specific needs that you have in each requirement is where you have the difference. Both of them are great, but of course, both of them are really different. So how you implement this in this small corner is where you found the problems. Keep that in mind, that the same product in two different cities, I don't want to say countries, just cities, could be in one of them perfect and the other could be a mess. So that is the key point of this project. So we'll go to the next slide. Thank you. The roadmap is easy. We don't reinvent the wheel. We just go through the typical layers of maturity models, the typical maturity model of mobility as a service. In the integration of the information layer, we use a standard engine that create the best route for you. But as usual, I always explain the same. As usual, you have to modify it to don't provide you when you ask, for example, for the cheapest trip, don't suggest you walk for 20 minutes. If you have the choice to do it in 10 minutes for only €1. So based on that kind of restriction that you have to force, we build that. In the ticketing policy, in the integration and of the booking and payment, the challenge here in this kind of project is identify who has to pay. What that means, we are talking of a financial transaction, so that have taxes, that have a document, invoice, legally. So who received the money and who paid to who, and who is providing the subsidy, it's something that is not only built the typical cleaning house where the suppliers paying one to other. It's a real effort to explain who is responsible for what and who is receiving what money. And the acceptance of the payment method, I will be fast, Daniel, don't worry. I have only one extra slide. The last detail about the payment method we try at the beginning, because in Cyprus there is a card for transport, motion card is called, that have the choice to have a wallet. Today, the wallet is not available to use for us in this way, but as soon as we'll be ready, that is planned in medium term, and the idea to pay not only with your typical bank card, to use this wallet is something that we are going to implement as well. Okay, now we can go to the next. The pricing nudging, no? Combined tickets, of course, that is the first step, the first milestone. If you use the bus, you have X minutes for free in a bike, or you have a different, this is not only savings, it's not only discount, is provide a different pricing model. So for example, inside of this concept, we are offering per minute and not per hour as Nextbike used to offer. So modify the way as you are providing the same product is the way as we look for the success of the project. We don't have enough figures to check if we achieve the result or not, but usually is the best way, better than only provide discount or subscription that at the end of the day is a kind of discount. And regarding the integration of social goals, Daniel, if we go to the next. Here is critical to have the authority support. You can do the best promotion in media, the best lotteries. We have a lottery. You can do whatever you want. But if the authority is supporting you, that creates you a small slot in the news. And that means that it's true, the thing that you are doing. And the people trust you and goes directly to the people as a real measure that is good for the city. So for that, this support is not only money, is the people trust you, trust in the project, and think that this project is important for the country when the authorities support you. If we go to next. Great. So the last milestone was do it. We did it. We achieved most of this topic, and the only thing in the last 2 minutes that I have is to see the next step, Daniel. So the next step is increase the number of mobility operators. We are thinking about parkings, for example. So the people can go by car and then they move to a bike or to a bus with a huge discount. Accessibility, maybe not everybody can use a mobile app, but they could have any benefit in maybe in another type of service is something that we are researching on that. The typical technological improvement, we are in a market that if you doesn't update a product in 3 years, it's a legacy product, it's an old product. That is something that we have to keep updated and keep in the market. And the last point that, from my point of view as an integrator, something that I saw several people, is go to a new transport solution. I don't want to say new, because it's something that was in the market for the last near to 20 years. But DRTs, for example, or collective transportation is something that we have to start to think on that as a new product to build, to integrate in a mobility as a service. So that is the next step that from the local consortium we are discussing as a next step. So I think, Daniel, I achieved exactly my 15 minutes. The conclusion is obvious. Just you know where are you working. You have to put realistic goals. You have to communicate your achievement in order the people use it, and you have to keep pushing to be on top of the market and not relax and accept what you have.
Thank you so much, Sergio, for these insights on the Larnaca Living Lab. It was perfectly on time, so thank you for that as well. Now we jump into the Krakow Living Lab with our colleague Lukasz Griga. The floor is yours, Lukasz.
Okay, thank you, Daniel, and thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy that I can share with you some insights and our work from that we performed in Krakow. As I said, my name is Lukasz Griga, and I'm working in the Public Transport Authority in Krakow. And this institution is a part of the municipality of Krakow, so we are the part of the city. And the SAM project is only one part of all the ecosystem that is the system transportation system we are providing for our inhabitants. So I should share with you some overview of how the situation about the shared mobility and the transport system looks like in the Krakow. Krakow is not the biggest city in European Union, but the second largest city in Poland, with over 800,000 inhabitants within the city. But actually, when you see the water usage and the mobile devices that are already in the city, we are estimating that on daily basis we have 1.2–1.3 million people every day. Official number of inhabitants of the metropolitan area is 1.5 million, so it's quite a lot of people that are traveling from or across the city, outside of the city into inside the city and within our city. So as a public transport authority, so next slide, please. As a transport authority, we are responsible for all the tasks related to the sustainable transport, shared mobility. We are planning, implementing, supervising the public transport, trams and buses. We are managing the transport infrastructure. We are providing bike rental systems. Also, we are implementing municipal policies regarding the shared mobility, also e-scooters. And we are managing the development of parking paid zones, low emission zones, managing of action in parks and rides. And also we are providing a city wayfinding system. So how the complex aspects related to sustainable modes of the transport and traveling across the city. Next slide. And about the transport system in Krakow, the backbone of the system are trams and rail. Hopefully, there will be metro in a few years, but currently not everywhere there is a place for the trams tracks. So the buses supplement the transport system actually, but we are not providing the buses only in the city of Krakow, but also in the municipal area. 19 municipalities have joined the public transport agreement. They are subsidizing our buses, and we are providing them with the buses that they are going inside the city of Krakow. We are also providing the tariff integration. So for the all modes of the transport, we have same ticketing system, same tariff. Also, some types of the tickets are also valid in the rail that is provided for the Małopolska region. And currently, we are transporting over 668 million passengers per year. And almost 90% of the Krakow residents have access to the trams and buses, but it's not stated here that in the walking distance of 500 meters, but it's not mentioned here that not as every bus is as frequent as trams in the city center. So it's not also the case that all inhabitants have the same aspect. This is a quick overview of our zones, tariff zones, the city of Krakow, but also we are providing for a whole area, neighborhood area, this transport. On the next slide, you can see that you can see in the red, there is a backbone of our transport, so the trams, and the rest is the buses. In the next slide, you can see also how far our bus lines go outside of the city Krakow. So there are various bus lines to each region of neighborhood of the Krakow. And accessibility to the trams and buses, as I said before, is approximately 90%. But there are some regions you can see here in the black dots that there are the buildings that are outside of this range. So to increase to use the public transport and other modes of transport, we have to increase the accessibility to trams and buses. And this is the main goal of our project, that we select one of the Krakow areas that are characterized by the low public transport accessibility. We increase this transport accessibility with a use of a special mode of the transport. The DRT, demand responsive transport, will be provided there with a use of the easy to use app that will book the rides for everyone. This service will provide access to public transport, buses, trams, and rail. Also, it will be included in our public ticketing system. And also the final solution will be co-created with inhabitants of the Krakow. So how it looks like with the project implementation, we were not alone in this process. We also helped with the Jagiellonian University and ZDEV, who is the tech providers. All three companies, us and Jagiellonian University and ZDEV, are the part of the SAM project. We collected the data necessary to simulate our service. Jagiellonian University performed several analyses to choose the best area for our test. With the cooperation of ZDEV, we provided a tool application, and we ordered vehicles and drivers to launch our service and perform the tests. So it took nearly a year, but there was a lot of tasks to be done. So, for example, from the areas that were primarily selected, it was 12 of them. The two most promising were selected for the further study, and in the end, the service was launched in the Skotniki area, which was looked the best in the simulations and the analyses. The Skotniki area is a fast-growing peripheral area. You can see a comparison between the situation 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago, and how it looks like 2 years ago. So many houses are built there, but the road infrastructure is not keeping with the development. You can see on the next map that we are providing the bus transport in this area, but it cannot access all the roads within this area, so only the main roads are covered. And this is the reason, it's shown in the next slide, that most of the roads, the secondary roads, are gravel roads or dirt roads, so this is the reason we cannot access them with the regular buses. Also in this area, we have a park and ride spot when the people are leaving cars and they're switching to other modes of the transport, trams, buses, and also our bike rental system. Park a Bike is e-bikes that are provided by our company. It was also the other project with the Interreg low carb. And we used this to implement our service. We already, to increase the usage of the service, we also create the brand name, the Like Bus, because it refers to one of the symbols of Krakow, the Lykonik. Also, the service is like bus, so it's also in the name. It's hopefully be liked by citizens of Krakow. And this is the second, our service with like in this name, because we are also providing the rental system, long bike rental system, Like Bike. We used the platform, Scalar platform, to implement an app. It's a ready-to-use tool that was customized for our needs. That provided the app for travelers, drivers, and also the dashboard that is necessary to supervising the service. Only supervisor is necessary because it's fully automated, and it's also available in the Android systems and the Apple systems, iOS. The final stage of our implementation was to fulfill our formal requirements. It was quite challenging because in Poland there is a lack of clear regulations regarding such a service. It's not a bus and it's not a taxi. We also involved real users in co-creation activities. We promote the service. And of course, after the launch of the service, we started to gather feedback to improve and develop the service even further. The final preparations, of course, considered some aspects related to GDPR, terms and conditions, privacy policy. We provided also the promotional materials, but as this project was not ready for every citizen of Krakow, we concentrated fully on this region. So we used the local social media in Skotniki area, local council to provide the information. Also, we put notices at the bus stops within this area, and even including the announcement in the local church to promote our service. Of course, there was also the co-creation activities. We have meetings with the local council members, with the local community to gather feedback and to get sign-ups for the tests. Also, we prepared a survey with using the GIS tools to collect precise and user-friendly data to provide the precise tool, even user-friendly tool to gather the feedback regarding our service. We had, before the launching of the service, we performed some tests with the real users. And also we created a pickup point at Czerwone Maki Park and Ride that you saw it on the previous slides. Also, final organizational aspects included the tariff integration. We provided the drivers with the same devices as the ticket inspectors because our company also providing the ticket inspectors. So the users can pay for the service tickets, our available tickets, or they can show valid tickets for the public transport in Krakow. And the service was finally launched just recently, a week ago. It was already seen in various websites of the city of Krakow that the Lightbus service is launched. We also provided with videos with some tutorials how to use, how to order the service and how to pay for the service. And also it was distributed in the local social media. As well as the information on bus and just stops in the Skotnik area was provided also with some QR codes and maps on the next slide. Okay, and here the user can access additional data about the project. The first results showed that our service usage is growing rapidly. As you can see, the most promotional materials was launched in the middle of the week, and after that, the number of users grow rapidly. And even yesterday, we have almost 100 people that was transported with the Lightbus service, and the number of people is still growing. As you can see, also approximately 70% of the trip starts or ends in the Czerwone. So the main aspect of the service to switch to the another modes of the transport is covered. But we will see in the future. We will gather more data, conducting surveys and calculating KPIs to see how our service is working. So it's everything that I was to present. If you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucas, for this insightful presentation and some nice partial results as well in the first week of service. I think now I'm going to stop sharing so I can read the questions. I hope there are questions in the chat box. So let's see. Now stop sharing. So let's check the questions in the chat. So a question for Lucas. So the question is, how did you solve the challenge? How did you solve the challenge of convincing passengers to use DRT services mainly in lower density areas rather than as a door-to-door taxi light service? Or if not yet, how are you planning to address this in the future? So, Lucas, it's to you.
I think the taxi services are not the competition to our service because our service is much cheaper than the taxi service. And also in the peripheral areas, the waiting times for the taxi driver is much longer. Actually, the most competitive companies are the car sharing companies, not the taxi companies, but also regarding the car sharing, there are not as many available cars in this area. So right now, the most important part is to address the local community, local council members to gather the feedback to create these co-creation activities. So after that, the news about new service was spreading within the community. The neighbors were talking with each other that there is a new service, and also the fathers and mothers of the children that are attending to the local primary school are also sharing the info that it's actually working. So this is the reason why our service is, I think, more popular than the taxi service, which is more expensive and less accessible in such an area for a wider audience. So it's also The reason we take our time to choose the best areas, because we suspect in other areas the popularity of such a service is not as huge as in the Skotniki area. So also to select right areas is a good choice to implement such a service. But already we gathered some feedback to implement such a service in another areas of the city of Krakow, but it will be in the future when we'll have more cars and drivers.
Thank you so much, Lucas, for your answer. I think we have a question that was meant for Stefanos in the Q&A section. So the question is, so yeah, it's if the cycling infrastructure that you are building also caters the needs for other micromobility services, I guess, so that it's the standards which they're built also allow for other services beside bikes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that question. It's really interesting. And of course, when we talk about cycling paths, the requirement from the Greek government to really implement those interventions demand like some meters that, according to the literature experience, could facilitate other micromobility options as well. So either you use the e-bike or single bike or an e-scooter or something similar size, then you can. So I think it facilitates that goal too.
Thank you, Stefan. I think we lost the connection in your last sentence. So maybe if you can repeat that last part.
Yeah. Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Is both suitable for micromobility options like e-scooters or something of a similar size and e-bikes. So our cycling tracks could facilitate both.
Thank you, Stefanos. And I think there's another question for you. So the question is if you can clarify the location selection of the mobility hub and the range of services that will be available, both transport and not transport related, if that is an option. But yeah, it's mostly transport. So.
Yeah, sure. I also find that question very interesting, and because we didn't have the time of presenting that before, and I would like also to clarify that. So thanks, Zenaid, for that question. First of all, about the selection. So the selection derived by strategic decision. We have the communities of Penteli, and then we saw the land uses, and strategically we selected the most central part of one local community or municipal entity here in Greece, Melissa. It's called Melissa, one of the three out of 3 that municipality of Penteli has, and complementing to that urban aspect, we decided to select this central part because of the transport options that you can have, the available transport options. The first one is the metropolitan public transport that has already there a stop. Then we are going to use the same spot for the local public transport. So we have this kind of seamless and multimodal dimension. Then quite a few meters, like 10 or 15 meters away, which is very close. 10 meters, it's very close to that scale. We have the bike sharing station, and also in terms of ride-hailing services, taxi services, more simply, today we also have a spot that taxis could take users. So it's like strategic location, and we wanted to be there because it's the first mobility hub. We wanted to be the more strategic because we also have some other candidate points that we thought, but they were more remote or more in of a local scale. So we decided to go by the strategic scale at first, and then to also increase the size, the places and the number of mobility hubs in the future. And as for the non-transport related, I might say one comment if I understand correctly. This kind of area, because of its centrality and of the land uses, you can have many different kind of activities there. So you can shop, also you can find some public services, you can, let's say, go out for a coffee, eat something and stuff like that, because it's like the center of this municipal entity. So you can both have one urban aspect, the non-transport related, and also you have the multimodality, which is very related and very, very close to the real transport and seamless mobility objective that we have. So I hope that I understood correctly and answered accordingly. And thanks once again.
Thank you, Stefan. I think, yeah, there is an extra question for you. So, and it's many questions in one. So, yeah. So how are the comprehensive measures supported politically and with proper funding? And how do you make sure the measures are well received in the community? Are you facing resistance when removing space for cars? Yes.
That's also, I think, a matter of all the living labs, if I may. But I would like to start. Of course, it's because our living lab is really focusing on how you change the streets, on how you take space from one mode and give it to another, which is like it could be a matter of conflict after that. And to be honest, when you face a very car-centric reality like in Penteli, you have to be very careful. That's why we didn't wish to make really extensive street retrofitting, like extensive cycling tracks. And that's why we decided to go firstly with cycle streets. It's another kind of approach. It's an approach of mixing different things, but with the right requirement of the speed. And also you do not another really radically to change their behavior. You try to understand them, and also through the answer to the resistance, it's building more awareness and discussing with them and be open to them. So somehow, because it's difficult in Athens especially, but somehow we want to face that. And we have done one, and we're also doing another co-creation event where we call people and we discuss with them, and they share their problems. But we know that they are going to have some problems. That's why we're going to take it step by step, even though sometimes you have to be more radical. That's why we do the shared streets instead of extensive cycle lanes everywhere, but shared streets in local neighborhoods that you can gradually engage into that kind of mindset and change your behavior step by step. It's something important. But one more, I think, about the founding, hopefully and thankfully to the objectives of the municipality and also as of the region of Attica, we have some funds that can be used towards to that kinds of implementation interventions, to the implementation of these interventions. But okay, it's a really challenging issue.
Thank you, Stefanos, for your answer. I think there's no questions for Larnaca, but I would like to ask something. Sergio. So I think so Larnaca it's a touristic city, right? And besides the local population, that's the natural target audience for these measures. I'm interested to know if you have taken or what measures have you taken to promote the uptake of, or potentially promote the uptake of these new measures towards maybe a floating population that comes as tourists, for instance, if there are different targeted measures, or if you have prepare a campaign towards those that audience.
A specific measure for tourists we doesn't implement, basically because the current service of Nextbike is really oriented to tourists, because they offer a full day trip or a 1 hour complete just to enjoy the ride. So this kind of not for transportation, for entertainment choice already exists. And in fact, because one of the drivers that the people change the habit is what is the local people is doing. No, if you are in a city where everybody is using a bike, maybe you check how can I do it, and I do it. So for that, there is no specific implementation for tourists, but there is no restriction. You doesn't need to be resident. You don't need to have the local transport card. Anyone with a credit card can use it. But at the end of the day, is much more oriented to recurrent and local user, much more than touristic. But it's not restricted, but the challenge we saw that could be more interesting on that. Anyway, I am much more from the technical side of the project. Andreas and the rest of the other part of the consortium can explain better than me.
Thank you, Sergio. I don't think we have any more questions posted in the chat. I don't know if maybe Julia, do you have a question for the Living Labs, or something you wanted to add to the discussion?
No, thank you, Daniel. No. It was very, very interesting, very productive, but no question on my side.
Thank you so much. So I think we can, if there are no more questions, I will share my screen to talk to you about the next steps for our POLIS webinar series. I see. Wait, before, because we have some. Oh no, Valsla, no questions. Just a message saying goodbye. So no, I will share my screen now again to. Presentation mode. It takes a while. It's a bit slow. So I will swap presenter mode. Perfect. So the next webinar, it's going to be on the 5th of March. We are going to discuss the importance of public transport for young and older people. We will also be featuring other POLIS projects and also city of Gothenburg and Sustrans. So we hope to have you there. And I wanted to thank all the panelists today, my colleagues from the SUN project, our coordinator Julia, our colleagues Lucas, Stefanos, and Sergio for giving us these insights on their best practices for integrating new and shared mobility services with public transport in different contexts with different needs, but with the common goal of making urban mobility seamless and accessible to everyone. So thank you again. Hope to see you next time. Remember, the recording will be available on the POLIS website and also on the SUM project website. So if you want more information, you can contact me at my email address. And yeah, I hope you have a nice rest of the day. So see you and goodbye. I'll stop sharing. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel, for all your efforts. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yo,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye.
very much. Bye.